Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's We're Afraid of the Dark. Our Are You Afraid of the Dark talk through and review. It's season 4, episode number 3, The Tale of the Water Demons. That is an intriguing title. Got me excited. Hope for something scary. And yeah, this has got some cool stuff. This has got some cool stuff. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an improvement of what came before this with the Locket episode, so that's good.
Yes, indeed. We've got a small enough cast here as well. We've got Tony Sampson as Sean Mackenzie, Charlie Hoffheimer as Dean Wilson, Louis D. Caspides as Mr. Wilson, and Griffin Brewer as Captain Abraham Westchester. Okay, a couple of interesting facts here. At the end of the episode, Gary opens Tucker's backpack, and when he goes through it, one of the items Gary removes is a pair of super specs, which of course was from his story in season 1. They really, really want to bring those back, don't they? I swear they're going to try and bring them back in a future episode.
Got a feeling they might, but also I wonder if were they like a thing, were they like a merchandise thing they were trying to push or something? I don't know.
Mm, mm. Griffin Brewer, who portrays Captain Abraham Westchester, has previously appeared in the show 2 times before. And you should remember some of it. The first time he appeared in The Tale of the Captured Souls, he was the old Peter, which was the boarding house one, folks, if you remember, who was stealing the life force of that girl's parents. And the second time he appears is in The Tale of the Phone Police, that crappy episode, and he was the phone company manager.
Mm.
There we go.
Quite a little bit obscure, but
According to creator DJ McHale, the initial script for this episode was way too long and they had to cut a ton of scenes. Okay.
yeah.
And he
You
also,
can tell a little bit.
Kenya, I wasn't too sure. I thought it was quite neat and tidy. But he did say his episode was one of his favorites, which I don't necessarily agree with. But hey, it's his choice. It's a Tucker story. And we begin with Frank arriving at the camp to find it lit, but no one there. He notices a backpack on the storyteller's chair, and in it he finds Sam's diary, and he is naturally pleased and starts to read it aloud. And basically, this is what he reads out. I don't know how to tell him how special he is to me. I know I give him a hard time because I don't want anyone to suspect my true feelings for Frank. Honestly, Frank, I'm so disappointed in you, man. A, for stars, don't be going through people's shit, but also B, for falling for this. Like, come on,
Mm.
man. Really?
Yeah, gullible Frank.
Now, weirdly, this section feels like it should have been in the previous episode. This section
Yeah.
could have worked in that than this one.
Yeah, like I said, mentioned before, they're sprinkling in like a little bit more drama between, like they're building up this whole thing between Frank and Sam, and it's like kept creating a bit of tension. I wonder where it's going to lead.
Yeah, he's very pleased naturally, but quickly puts it back in the bag when he hears the others arrive. Now, Sam's with them, which again, I was like, Frank, really? What? So she came there, left her bag, and then left again. Come on, Frank, man. And he does try to tease her and squeeze the information out of her, but she's just confused. He finally stops messing around and reveals that he read her diary. And naturally, others around the camp react like, dude, like that's not cool, rightfully so. But it's revealed that's not her diary at all. Gary takes a look at it, and confirms it's been written by Tucker. Now, you mentioned it as well, but I thought it was intriguing that it was Gary that intervenes here as well. He gets involved. I'm like, yeah, you might be
Mm.
right there. And I said, maybe I'm being too hopeful, but I'm not. They're not going to, like, that's going to be a continuous rivalry.
Exactly. I mean, White Knight Gary steps in. He's to the rescue. Maybe he even told Tucker to write it behind the scenes, and he was doing it in a way to again portray Frank as the villain. I
The
reckon he's playing chess. He's playing chess.
fucking puppet master, man. We're going to be like season 20 of this, and then it's going to start with somehow Gary has returned, and they'll be off.
I'm looking forward to when Gary asserts his dominance. Like, this is my group. Without me, this doesn't happen.
Anyway, Tucker laughs, Frank is furious, and everyone has to intervene to stop a fight. Frank calms down, and Tucker reveals that he just did it to prove a point for his story. He tells the group that you shouldn't mess with other people's stuff, no matter how much you attempted, because you could really regret it, particularly if you mess with the dead. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, this is the tale of the Water Demons. I will say, this is not the first time Tucker's done this. I like Tucker, and Betty Ann's another one that does this as well. And Kirsten needs to do it as well, who will do something to set up a story. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I do like the setup here. Does it well.
So, teenager Sean is being, well, a bit of a teen, having become a bit of a git, so has been sent to summer in the country with his strict uncle and his cousin Dean. So, basically, in his opening text, we learn that Sean's mother is a bitch because he's just been a teenager, a little bit stroppy, and her response to that is go, oh, go live with your uncle for the summer. Ooh, that's some bad parenting.
When we've seen parents in these shows resort to some proper madness, like sending them to like boarding school, like militarists, like boarding schools and stuff, because they do like minor infringements. You
Yeah.
know,
Sean, unsurprisingly, isn't too pleased to this, especially as it's a pretty boring place, and all he's doing is hanging around his uncle's general convenience store where Dean works. And it's delivery time, and Dean is not happy to be delivering coffee to the Westchester mansion. Dean is apparently frightened of the place and tells Sean of its owner, Captain Abraham Westchester, who made his fortune pillaging and looting sunken ships around the world. And obviously, that just makes Sean even more excited to go now and figures, well, look, the captain's rich. They'll get a big tip for making the delivery. Of course, Sean doesn't realize the old rule people don't get rich by giving money away.
exactly. And I really like the intro here. I thought they like did a good job of like defining both of these two characters like quite differently. You immediately get a sense of what types they are, and also have to say I'm a huge massive fan of the trope of like people having to like go deliver something to a location that's like really eerie and creepy. I just think that's a great setup for like any kind of like horror sort of story.
When I think of that setup, I think of one thing and one thing only, and it is the movie House and the incredibly horrifying intro to that.
Yeah, I mean you can see why I like it so much. It's
Yes.
one of my favorite horror movies. So
Anyway, so they make a delivery to this mansion, which just so happens to be next to the ocean. Now, well, we don't get a scale of it from the outside. They do a good job of making it feel big by just what we see in the inside. They arrive, there's a note on the door instructing them to go around the back and basically put the coffee in a pantry. And inside and all that, it does look kind of suitably spooky. You know, there's mist and fog. And whereas that might feel egregious, because it's so close to the ocean and it's established it is, that's very believable.
yeah.
Inside, Sean is amazed by the treasures on display, items likely to have been taken from old shipwrecks. He picks up a pocket watch, seems mesmerized by it, even as Dean tells him to put it back. Dean puts the coffee order in the pantry, which is a good time for Sean to then jump scare him when he comes out, naturally.
Mhm.
Dean is angry, they get into a shoving match, which results in Dean falling backwards into a bookcase, which revolves and reveals a secret room. So, a solid little sequence here to get us to where we are.
Yep.
Inside this room, they scare the crap out of Captain Westchester, who basically begs them not to hurt him, but he quickly calms down when he realizes it's basically just two young boys. And he apologizes for his reaction and explains, look, you know, I'm kind of edgy because I don't get much sleep. And he kind of just rambles on here, which I really liked as well, because if you're sleep deprived, you probably are going to find yourself opening up in a way that you don't necessarily. It sounded quite natural. He's a good actor, this man. And he kind of
Yeah.
touches upon only really having catnaps of sleep in the past 3 years.
Yeah, and I wrote a note on how I really loved his performance here because I thought he really did a great job coming across as someone who's really terrified by something they've seen. Yeah, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, like haunted is the word that I wrote here. Haunted. He appears haunted by something. Now, I didn't see know this episode, but by this point, I worked it all out. I was like, right, he's been getting treasures from sunken places. He's now being haunted by some dead people. That's it basically. And it seemed fairly obvious. No complaints though, because I don't mind this story.
Hmm. Yeah.
Sean is impressed by the captain's life, even though he doesn't pillage anymore and wants to know more. But the captain reveals basically, I've been cursed by the sea because of what he did. He tells the boys that when he sleeps, he's visited by water demons, the angry spirits of the victims who died at sea and have come back looking for what was taken from them. Obviously, Dean and Sean think he's crazy and leave. I actually really like the way they kind of behave about this. They do a very kind of like silly over the top. It's like, yeah, okay, we're just gonna be and stop backing like that kind of like cheesy reaction to it. I liked.
Yeah, they have a fun dynamic.
Yes, and on the way out, the camera focuses on the display case that held a pocket watch Sean was eyeing up earlier, revealing it is gone, suggesting he stole it. Two things are done wrong here. First off, listen, it's
Mm.
a bit much. I know we got to get the pocket watch on Sean, but it's a little bit much for this character to steal. Like, that's stealing. That's beyond just taking a little bit of gum that he does at the start. He's just stealing something
Mm.
quite valuable for someone else. So I was a bit like, whoa, hold on. I realize there's probably no other way to get to the end, so they had to do it here. Fair enough. But it's just a bit too bad for me to like this kid later on when he turns it around. But don't fucking show us
Mm.
that it's gone. Don't show us that it's gone. That gets revealed at the end. When the water demons
Mm,
won't disappear and they keep coming back, we could be like, what's going on? And then Sean's
yeah.
like, it's because of this, right?
Yeah, and he kind of has to come clean, and he like
Yeah.
sees the error of his ways in that moment. Yeah, that'd been better, definitely.
So later we see the captain falling asleep as outside it all gets a bit foggy. Big up the fog machine used in this episode. They did a great job to really make it feel right because it's also now time we mention what this certainly has taken inspiration from. It is taken inspiration from John Carpenter's The Fog. In
Mm.
that fog rolls in and these creatures emerge from it who want revenge from things that were taken from them. I don't want to spoil John Carpenter's The Fog. Go see it yourself if you've never seen it. Just the original. Do not watch the fucking mid noughties remake. It's awful. And it's basically a similar setup to that. Obviously, far less horrifying and far less adult. But yeah, did you? I mean, how long did it take you to clock it was doing the fog?
Yeah, I mean, I got that straight away pretty much, but yeah, I mean, the fog budget must have been pretty high on this episode, definitely.
Yeah. So out of the seas come shadowy figures approaching the house, but the captain wakes up and they seemingly vanish. And I was kind of like, yeah, that was a creepy scene, particularly with the shadows. I liked it.
Yeah, yeah.
Back at the house, Sean's uncle and Dean's father comes in to tell him to go to bed. Sean's angrily refuses as it's too early, and upon being told, well, listen, man, you live under my house, you will obey my rules, Sean storms out into the night, planning to sleep in a hammock near the Westchester mansion. I
Mm.
was fine with, again, this might seem a bit silly and extreme, but they have set up Sean's character as being that, not just a surly teenager, but a teenager that's pushing back. Kind of got to that age where he realizes, what are they going to do to me?
Mm.
Like, they're not going to take their belt off. I'm not going to be whipped here. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if I say no, what are they going to do? And I'm like, shit, we all got there.
yeah. It's a dangerous period of time when you realize that. The
Hmm.
parents.
Yes, indeed. Good luck.
Thanks.
Both Sean and the captain are falling asleep, which sees the arrival of the water demons who make a play for Sean. And here we kind of get a good look at them. They look okay, a little bit too human for my liking, a little bit too weak. You can kind of see the pale makeup ends around the neck and the wrists. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, for like demons that are like water demons, it's supposed to be like kind of waterlogged. They could have looked a bit more grotesque, I guess. But yeah.
I think if you're going to do waterlogged, you should only everyone should copy one particular look, and it was a cheap look as well. Creep show, the first creep
Mm.
show. It was a cheap look, but my god, the day looked waterlogged, covered with the seaweed and all of that stuff.
Very true. Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, Sean wakes up screaming for help as Dean is outside searching for him, having come out to see where he went. He was worried about Sean, so he thought he'd go looking for him. Sean runs to a woodshed, tries to hide, but the demons are all over him. And in his panic, he manages to grab an air horn and just squeeze it down, which the loud noise wakes up the captain in the mansion nearby and alerts Dean to his location. And immediately the water demons vanish. And near the mansion, they're confronted by the captain, who's basically come out and now sees the watery handprints on Sean's t-shirt. And yeah, so yeah, it's all kind of moving along at a nice pace.
Yeah.
He brings them inside and tells them a story about a yacht called the Del Rio, which crashed on the rocks nearby. And to be fair, everything named Del Rio crashes and burns anyway, so this is totally fine. Um, no survivors and a shipwreck that he looted. From that point on, the demons have been after him. He tried. Now, here's a good touch, right? Because you'd be like, what, and you've done nothing to this point. But no, he tried to make it up to him, dumping all their jewels and treasures back in the ocean. However, even after he did this, they still keep coming from him. Now, rightfully, question is asked him. Dean's like, well, did you definitely give everything back? And it turns out, look, he acknowledges he didn't because during the interim period, he traded some away and he's struggled. He's tried to find it again and just hasn't been able to. And I was like, this is a really good story. This is a really clever way to explain it. And then they're going to
Yeah.
fuck it up right next because Dean just goes, well, why haven't you dumped the stuff that you traded for it in the sea? And the captain's like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And I was like, wait,
No.
3 years of no sleep and you never once could. Oh, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of my biggest issues with this episode. Is just telling me that this old fool has been evading these water demons for this long. I find that just too unbelievable. You know, they have to like wake him up with an air horn, otherwise he wouldn't have woken up. Just too unbelievable.
They needed to have some sort of thing where he says, like, I fall asleep, but I've got a system set up where it wakes me up every 5 minutes. It wakes me every 5 minutes. Whatever it is, we can see some elaborate contraption. They need to come up with a better explanation why the traded stuff, he apparently didn't think of the dumping the traded stuff. Suddenly, you have this character going, coming across really smart and really, like, at least tried, did stuff and all that, immediately just looking like an absolute idiot.
Exactly.
Now, there's likely, you said it before, but knowing now what I know, I reckon there's some scenes cut around this stuff. And this
I
is
think
maybe
so.
what the problem is with the script.
Yeah, maybe where he was like trying to attempt to get back some of the things he traded, and they had like scenes of them going to do that or something, where the boys went off and did that for him while he stayed behind. But yeah, they just cut it out, I reckon.
Yeah, there it is. Anyway, so the captain's like, look, I want to do this right away. But Sean's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And the captain's like, well, look, the water demons are after you now as well. And I was like, okay, why? Like, the captain, like, why would they be after Sean now? Like, put two. How has nobody connected the dots? How did the captain not connect the dot there? Why would the water demons be after you again?
That's true. But also, like, that's also the problem when you portray this guy the way they are, like a complete idiot, is that makes your monsters look bad by proxy, because if they can't get him, that kind of makes them look pretty useless if they can't get some old fool who like can't stay awake, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It was doing so well, but weirdly, in this entire conversation between the two kids, Sean and Dean, and the captain, so much is unraveled here. It's a right
Mm,
mess.
yeah.
And seemingly aware of that, I think they just speed up now and just go straight. Well, fuck it. Let's just get to the ending. Let's just get to the ending because we're making a mess of this episode. Because yeah, they're just like, okay, we're going to go off and dump this stuff in the water. Um, but as they're loading up the boat, in at least a comedy scene, Sean accidentally knocks the captain out with an oar and somehow also manages to knock Dean's glasses into the water. And Dean's so blind, and it is night to be fair, the only one who can now finish the job is Sean. Now, the captain, you might be thinking, oh, well, the captain's knocked out. That will work, right? No, he's not quite out. He's kind of stirring a bit. So Sean has to go out on the boat and do it himself, and Dean has to stay there to keep the captain from, like, I don't know, falling asleep or going fully unconscious. There is a brilliant line delivery here. Sean is the best actor in this. He is
Yeah.
because he plays this angry kid really, really well, and him shouting at Dean to do everything he can to keep the captain awake. I was like, you know what, man? Like he puts us all into that line.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
Out by the wreck, Sean starts to dump the stuff, but the demons start to arrive. But he does manage to drop the last piece, and the demons disappear because we're going to have the most idiotic fake out that makes no sense, aside from it's a fake out for all of us to go for our benefit, not the characters, our benefit. Because if the demons are gone, everything's cured, right? Everything's solved. Sean gets back to the dock, the captain's still out cold, and Dean is looking for his glasses when he is suddenly grabbed by the water demons and pulled into the water. And I just wrote, huh? Right. What the hell? Right. Why did the water demons? What? Oh, let's play a trick on him. Let's pretend we're
Mm,
going when they're not really. We know Sean has the fucking watch because you showed it earlier on. Now imagine we didn't know that. This would
mm,
be interesting, but it would still be a problem because why attack a Dean? What has
yeah.
Dean got to do with any of this?
It's a great point.
Sean finally realizes that he didn't throw everything back. Apparently, he pulls out the gold watch. So he didn't know he had that gigantic ass watch in his pocket. I'm like, what are we doing here? And then he even does, oh my God, you want this? You want, like, he takes his time. Your bloody cousin has just been dragged into the water. Maybe don't take your time with this. Just chuck it in the water.
I don't think he appreciates that, no.
He finally throws it in, and Dean emerges from the water seemingly fine. Now, Captain Westchester also wakes up, relieved to find that everything was given back to the ocean and that the demons will leave him alone from now on. And we cut to sometime later as Sean has turned over a new leaf, not only working away in his uncle's store, but even repaying Dean for the stuff he stole. I was convinced we were going to get a sting in it here. I thought this is an episode that's got one, right? Like, we're going to cut to the captain cuddling up, like he's in bed and he's finally sleeping soundly. And I don't know, we slowly pan to a wall and see the shadow of a water demon standing
Mm.
over him or something like that, suggesting that that wasn't it. And then we go to the end. Nope.
Hmm.
We got because it's Sorry Afraid of the Dark. They're obsessed with a happy ending, and that's literally
Mm.
how it just ends, with Sean having turned over a new leaf, and apparently the water demons are long gone. And I was
Yeah.
so disappointed.
Mm. Yeah, no, it does grind you down the more it happens, definitely.
The end, and as everyone leaves the camp, Kiki finds Tucker's backpack, and Gary goes through it, finding several of his items: so super spec glasses, a piece of fake vomit, and his magic book. Kiki then finds a note sees a note fall out of the bag that reads, "Dear Gary, thanks for letting me borrow this stuff. Sorry I didn't ask first. P.S. What are you doing in my knapsack? Didn't you get anything out of my story, Tucker?" But you left it, Tucker, and went off. That's just Gary being decent to check the bag to see who it is so he can bring it to. Doesn't work. It doesn't work, Tucker, if you leave it there on purpose.
Exactly.
This had me and then lost me by the end. Like
Mm.
the last 5 to 10 minutes gets so messy and unordered and muddled and kind of just. By the end of it, I was sitting there with my arms folded, going, "Nah, man, not good enough."
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree. I do think this was a big improvement over the previous episode, but just like I do think, like you said, it has all the elements that are there to make something really, really good, a really memorable episode that we'd hold in quite high regard. But then it just kind of falls short on all the things that are good about it,
Yeah,
and it leaves it ending up being more like just probably kind of forgettable than anything more than that, which is just a shame. Because like, yeah, there's a lot of good elements there, but it just like doesn't really capture that magic, unfortunately.
I agree. It's because of that. It's middling now because when you have to balance up a good start with a bad end, you end up slap bang in the freaking middle, which is
Mm.
it's unfortunate. You know what? We're 3 episodes into season 4. This shit's got to get better. You know what we need? We fucking need Frank, mate. Frank, come rescue us. Bring in the big boys as well. Which I'm going to preview now, folks. We're going to kind of get in the next one, but I'm going to
Mm.
preface that with a kind of because oh my god, the next one is a two-parter, and I have a lot to say. But we'll cover that next time. This was The Tale of the Water Demons, episode 3 from season 4. You got any thoughts you want to share? Obviously, know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.